Hey guys, okay, so we had a little bit of technical difficulty there in the first open source technology to screencast and then also show my face on there, and it didn't work. So I think my internet isn't fast enough in this hot tub converted office here. So anyways, today I want to chat with you guys and kind of give you some case studies on how I've built a rental portfolio that replaces my income. And my goal for you guys is that you can, of course, take this information and hopefully it will help you, if you plan on building a rental portfolio, also replace it here. If I can figure this one out. Okay, so I'm going to share with you guys some case studies, actually, if that's okay. And the first case study is not playing, but let's see. Okay, case study example number 1. So this is a rental property that I bought in April of this year. So everything that you guys are gonna see here is actually recent properties that I purchased. So for people who complain the market's too hot or properties are too expensive, my goal is to show you guys that that is not necessarily true. There is still super good deals out there. So case study example number 1, Mount Vernon, Washington duplex. Purchase price was $236,000, down payment $64,000. We had to put $5,800 into it. So on this little stunner, I've got $69,800 into it. This provides a monthly cash flow of $1,154. which also gives me a return on investment of 20%. So basically how I get that return on investment is I take the monthly cash flow times 12 divided by the total amount that I have into this property. Say hi, Delaney. Sorry. We're totally just screenshotting the screen here. Okay, case study example number 2. This is a duplex that I purchased in Greenwood, Indiana in December of last year. I bought this pretty little property sight unseen. I bought it for $155,000, did a rehab of $19,200, total investment of $62,950, monthly cash flow of $1,119. And when it says monthly cash flow, guys, I want to make sure that you know monthly cash flow means the amount that I put in my pocket after the rents are brought in, and then after the mortgage is paid, the property manager takes out, their fees, the 10% for rent. So this basically covers everything. So the cool thing is this little guy provides $1,119 a month after that. So my return on investment is 21% on this guy, which is pretty darn good. And then next up, we have, this is another property that I bought in Mount Vernon, Washington. This one I bought in February. Purchase price was $203,000. Had to put about $10,000 into remodeling this thing. Down payment's $55,000. So the total investment $48,000. This one cash flows $1,072, and it has a return on investment of 19.5%. So as you can see, these are all pretty similar properties. So we're now on property number 3. And all of these are duplexes, all of these cash flow over $1,000 a month, and all of them are single story. So I actually have a huge preference for buying single story properties. For one is I have a relationship here in Washington to provide disability housing for people with intellectual disabilities that do need to have single story properties. And then the other thing is I believe that at some point we're going to have to deal with the senior crisis that we have. And so, like it or not, we're all, living longer, and we are, running out of affordable places to put our aging family members. And so I'm not sure what the solution is, but I will definitely be sure that, any properties that we're going to buy are going to be able to be used for assisted living or, some kind of senior housing in the future. So pointing that out there. I didn't have a front picture of this house, but I did have a back picture, which is this huge shop and a bobcat that my husband was digging up the yard and actually converting this whole backyard into a big driveway so that we could rent out the shop completely separate from the house. So this one was purchased in May of 2016. Purchase price $310, remodel $0, because this one we actually had a builder friend of mine remodel it before we bought it. So we bought it completely remodeled, aside from this little backyard deal. So down payment was 31 grand, total investment 36,000. The $5,000 difference is in the cost to get the loan. This one has a monthly cash flow of $1,223 and an ROI of 40%. So this is a happy property for me. So in review, in the last year, aside from another property I'm going to share with you guys about, these 4 properties created $97,296 in annual income. That is just, the rental income. So when we actually talk about cash flow, it's $54,816 in cash flow. So this is actually a pretty good year for us. We were able to create this $54,000 income just on these 4 properties, which is awesome. The average return on investment for these 4 properties is about 30%, which basically means that in 3 years and 1 quarter, I will recoup my entire investment that we have into these properties. And then all but one was purchased on the MLS, and everything was purchased with other agents. So yes, I'm an agent myself, but I work with agents in other states, even locally. Anyone that finds me a deal that's an agent, they have the ability to write offers on my behalf. So if you're an agent out there and you have deals, I'm a buyer, feel free to send it to me. I also don't collect referral fees on my own deals because I want my agents to send me deals and get paid. Every property that I bought was under rented and needed work. So the other thing that I look at aside from cash flow is, of course, a value add opportunity. So in this case, I want to share with you guys, so like the way that I value investment properties after I have done the rehab is I apply a market cap rate of whatever the market's doing. So like right now we have a market cap of about 6% here locally. And so if I take the net operating income of these 4 properties and divide that by 6%, which is the going cap rate, these properties are worth $1.13 million, which is awesome. That's actually like a ton of equity in these guys. In one of the hottest markets in the United States and in one of the hottest, sellers markets that we've seen, at least in my career. So to give you guys just a total number on my entire portfolio, I started investing in 2007 and I started really slow. So I literally bought like 1 property per year, except in this last year. And really that big difference was I actually slowed down and kind of stopped and stepped back from working with clients. And so I took that time and I actually invested in my own portfolio a little more. And so it's funny, I worked less, yet I actually made more passive income just by shifting my focus. So food for thought there. So now we have 10 properties, which are 18 units. And those 18 units bring in $223,152 in annual income. So that's like the rental income, the revenue. And then when you factor in the expenses and everything, it brings us $112,418 in annual passive cash flow. Leverage is super important to me. So we of course get leverage on all of our properties, yet being risk adverse is also important to me. So our rental portfolio has a current loan to value ratio of 47%. And basically what I look at is if the market were to tank significantly, we would still have a ton of equity. So not only would we have, I don't necessarily care or worry so much if the market's gonna tank or if we're gonna go into another recession, because I care more about the annual passive income that gets brought in. But it's also feels pretty good to know that if the market tanks, our portfolio is actually gonna be okay. And then at that point, I'll probably go on a buying spree and spend all of our money buying up more properties like I've done before. So what I want to share with you guys is I want to share basically the biggest skill set. And I think that Brenton had mentioned this too, but the biggest skill set that you would need if you are looking to build a rental portfolio is learning how to find deals. So knowing like what is advertised is not exactly what could be. So like all the properties that I bought on the MLS, like I said, they were under rented, and to be honest, they were getting passed up. And I think it's because other agents and other investors were like looking at it and saying, oh, these numbers don't work. Well, they didn't realize that they were under rented, and with just spending, a few $1,000s, they could get much higher rents. So, here I am now cash flowing these things of, over $1,000 a month with just a very little initial investment on the rehab. The other thing I talk about is looking in the discount bin. That's what I call the discount bin. And basically that's like where other people don't look for deals. And again, this means like the MLS, right? So I look for, areas that may be a little more rural, or, of course, I live in the Seattle area, but I would never buy in Seattle just because the pricing is crazy. So, but I go, north, or I go south. And while everyone is kind of fighting for deals in Seattle, I can just go and not have much competition either direction. So the other thing is I look for rentals where the tenant can pay rent even if they're on unemployment. Now that may sound kind of harsh, but I actually experienced that in the last recession. Is I remember like some of my higher priced rentals, like my $1,400, $1,500 a month rentals, weren't renting as fast as my $900 or $1,000 a month rentals. So I've kind of found that sweet spot where these duplexes, like they're not like apartment complexes where tenants don't tend to stay very long because they want more space and they want a yard, but they're not as expensive as like single family homes where a lot of people, especially in our area, they just can't afford them. I mean, I would say that in like the city that I live, to find a decent house, you're probably going to spend between $2,500 to $3,000 a month. So that is absolutely not where I want to be when the next recession hits. I want these little, $1,200 to $1,400 a month each side duplexes, which is just super solid. And then I also look for at least $500 per month per unit in cash flow. And I require that I receive a return on investment of at least 15%. As you guys can see though, in those last deals, I've beat that, averaging 30%, but that's kind of like my minimum criteria. Next up. So now I want to share with you guys my new construction project. So I actually got started in real estate because I did land development and I worked for a real estate developer. And I did that for about 2 years, and then I quit the company, and the first thing that I did was go and build a bunch of houses with some friends and family capital. And so we were kind of building houses on the side, and then I took a little bit of a break just because I was doing flips and new construction and working with buyers and sellers and pretty much doing anything and everything. And so we took a little break, and then I found this really cool property in January of this year where the purchase price was $325,000, and it was actually included a single family house with an extra lot next door that was zoned for multifamily. And the agent just didn't really know what they had, so I was able to purchase both for $325,000. Now the single family lot just on its own is worth about $150,000. So like that was, super. I got the house for super cheap. So we ended up remodeling the single family house, and it cost about $50,000 to do that. And so the total project cost that I had like into this project was $375,000. And then we sold the single family house for $370,000. So obviously if this were just a flip where I flipped the house by itself, that would be a kind of terrible deal, because as you can see, we actually lost money. But keep in mind, we had that lot that came with it, right? So basically you sold the house for $370,000, and then the net after like paying commissions, and in Washington we have excise and title and escrow and all that stuff, the net was $350,000, which means I had $20,000 left over that now gets applied to the vacant land basis. So like I basically got $150,000 land for 20 grand. So here's how the numbers look for this new construction project. So we're into the land, 20 grand. The permit and connection fees for the utilities and basically everything to like build this thing out, or all the cost to build it out is about $55,000. And then the construction costs for the buildings, front end improvements, driveways, all that kind of stuff is about $504,000. So we have a cost to value, that's the CTV, of 50%. Because, I didn't even put that on the sheet. So once we're done, we're building, I think there was a little picture on the other slide, but we're building 2 duplexes side by side, and they're going to be worth about $1 million, so about $500,000 a duplex, and we'll have a cost to value of 50%. So we also have tenants already lined up, and we haven't even built this thing, which is like amazing. But anyway, so the rents that these new tenants are going to pay is $7,200 a month. So this property will have a net operating income of $71,000. And the new loan is going to be about $525,000. So, we'll take our total cost, the total building and development cost, the $504,000, and tack in, some loan fees and refinance costs and everything. And so our new loan is going to be about $525,000. So the great thing in all of this is that the bank is going to finance 100%. And basically the only reason why we can do that is because we got the land for 20 grand. The banks require that they'll give you a loan of 75% of cost to value, but because we're at a 50% cost to value, we get to finance this thing 100% with the bank. So basically this new 2 little duplex project that we're building is going to have cash flow of $44,000 a month, which is like, $44,000 a year, which is like $3,700 a month. And we're going to be able to walk away with this thing with, almost $500,000 of equity. And we're going to have a brand new building, built-in tenants. Our tenants are actually going to be the company that has the state program with people with intellectual disabilities. So we are kind of custom building it for them with that respect. But yeah, $3,700 a month with basically nothing out of pocket. So I'm super excited about this one. And we actually have another project that's coming up that is going to be similar to this one as well. So if you've heard of the BRRRR strategy before, this is like the BRRRR strategy for building. So really quick, as I'm wrapping up here, guys, here's some misunderstandings that I hear a lot. Number 1, market's too hot. I need to wait for the next recession. Yes, the market's hot, but keep in mind the rents are at an all-time high. We're turning into a renter nation. So I'm seeing more and more people renting, every day, and the interest rates are still super low. So, keep in mind that's something where, you're locking in a low interest rate for the next 30 years, guys. That's huge. The other thing, so if anyone was following along and doing any math, you might be saying, yeah, cool, Jennifer, I don't have an extra $230,000 to build a little portfolio like you just did on those 4 properties. And the funny thing is, guys, the only reason why I was able to do that was because of all of my other rentals. So the rest of our portfolio was pretty much paid for in sweat equity. So we used the BRRRR strategy. We used, a lot of different things to acquire these properties for, minimal down, 0 down. So you definitely do not have to have hundreds of thousands of dollars to invest and build your own portfolio. And then the other thing I hear people say is like, they're making really good money, and why would they worry about a few extra $100 each month? And honestly, I guess my response to that is, it took me 10 years to kind of get to this point because I was super slow and only bought 1 property at a time. But if, after that 10 years, now it's really kind of compounded and built up. So while you may be earning a really good income now, you don't know what the future is going to bring. And I think that the more passive income that you have, you actually get more options. And so, again, I would say to that, definitely consider, you don't, like, this kind of income comes in no matter where we're at in the world, no matter what we're doing. And it just, kind of comes in and is what they call mailbox money. So anyways, I hope this is helpful for you guys. I'm gonna see if I can turn it and like show my face that I'm still here in a okay. Hey, so anyways, I figured it out. Cool. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. Sorry about the first one that may have had some technical issues, but and this was a super long video, but I hope you guys have a great week. Ask the questions in the comments below. Super happy to answer any questions you guys have, and we'll talk to you next week.